Well, so much for easy fixes. If you may remember from my last video, I got this steering wheel spinner to try and hide that crack, and I've just gotten the car back from the shop for the umpteenth time now. And take a look what happened here. Looks like it shifted it around and put some gouges, new gouges, in the steering wheel. I can see it's all a bit crooked there, so I guess I didn't screw it on tight enough. Funny thing is I put pieces of felt on the underside so it wouldn't scratch the back, but I didn't think to put it any underneath these parts, and boy, look at that. So never try to outsmart yourself. But anyway, the car is back again, and a bunch of new stuff fixed, but kind of more fixing things that weren't fixed but weren't really fixed. Had these back windows, which we had kind of got them back on track, but they needed new rollers. Let's try those out. That one looks good. And over here. All right, 4 working windows for I think the first time. Got the power seat switched out, put a new switch in. So we've got everything working now. Up, down, tilt, you name it. Front tilt, back tilt. Actually, I think that's straight up and down. Wowee wow. And boy, the biggest thing that I ended up fixing was the thing that I thought was already fixed, which was how the car was running and driving, which was, so you may remember I keep having this issue of the car stalling out on me to and from the shop. Well, it did it again, taking it to the shop after my last video, to the point I could not get it restarted, and they had to come give me a tow. And long story short, what was going on was the choke was stuck in full open, so the car was essentially flooding itself all the time. And that just presented a whole bunch of other problems, which was, we found out that this car has the right carburetor, but it had the wrong upper and bottom halves. Apparently during that time there was 2 different halves, and they didn't quite match up from other years. And long story short, I had either the wrong bottom half or the wrong top half, and we had to go find some old guy, retired guy on the west side. Had the carb for like a month, promising to turn it around, and finally did. So we got the once again rebuilt carb going in there, and as you can maybe hear, it's running really good. So hopefully that issue, my theory last time about that it was the water in the gas tank, turned out to be completely bunk. But and while they were doing that, I'd had a persistent oil leak, and they pulled the valve covers, which weren't on properly because the guy I bought it from had put on, he said, new valve cover gaskets, but what the mechanic actually did was put in silicone. And so they had to get rid of that and also grind out the corner of the valve cover to make it fit properly. And here she is back again. So I guess you could say I made a lot of progress this time, but again, weirdly, it was refixing things that had been fixed but had been fixed right. And as I've said before in these other videos, it always seems like it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back. I mentioned those gouges in the steering wheel, which I'm not too happy about. But may have noticed when I made my first pass here, a little something missing from the hood. Oops, yeah, where's my emblem? Nobody knows. Whether it, again, you can see a little bit of old silicone there, so this thing maybe was not bolted properly. And just fell off, or the car was at the shop for a couple months, so maybe someone just decided that, hey, I'd like to go get me a Cadillac V emblem from the front. So talked to the shop owner. He was very apologetic and promised to replace it for me. Yeah, I guess that's what it is with these old cars. It's just, frustrations upon frustrations, and you fix frustrations, and then you get new frustrations to replace them. But the overall arc. Oh, also got my gear shifter back there. I don't know if you saw that. So it was out of the car, then it was in the car, then it was out of the car, then they lost it, then they found it. I don't know if you saw, I actually repainted the top of it with some white there to make it stand out a little more. So I'm back to having a working gear shift pointer again. So I don't know what I'm doing next with the car. I kept saying I was gonna just drive it the rest of the year. Well, heck, it's second week of October as I'm filming this, so the year is almost done. But we've gotten some warm weather here in Indiana for fall, so maybe I'll just drive it for a couple months and enjoy it, and then see what's what. Maybe work on painting some of those little pieces like we talked about, and just moving on forward with different things. I'm happy to have the car back. Not happy about once again having a huge bill to pay. But I mean, obviously I'm pushing the bodywork on the car back certainly into 2018. Maybe not even early 2018, maybe mid to late 2018. Just because I've still got a few nagging things I want to fix. So next up on this car is the heater. It's funny, I was talking to a friend of mine who owns an early 70s Cadillac, you know, and I was telling him about all the time. Oops, there's a cop up ahead. I probably shouldn't be filming while he's there. Let me put this down here. Uh-oh. Okay, we're back on. I made my escape from Johnny Law there. I think Indiana has a pretty strict don't use your phone while you're driving except for GPS, and I don't think I can convince them that this qualifies. But, so next up on this is the heater. I was talking about that friend of mine has an early 70s Cadillac. He was saying, oh, why'd you bother fixing the windshield wipers? My car hasn't had windshield wipers working for a long time. Who cares? I don't know. I mean, if you're just going to drive the car a tiny little bit to shows or whatever, it's okay to not have some of those accessories working. But, you know, any car of mine that's a driver, I want it to be drivable, which means, you know, drives and stops well, working headlights, working signals, working windshield wipers, stuff like that. And also in Indiana, you do kind of want to have a heater, especially in the colder months. I'm not sure after that. The radio doesn't work. It works enough that when it's hooked up, the power antenna goes up and down, which is kind of cool, but I don't know, that might be a lower priority item. If you saw my Mustang video, you know that I've owned my Mustang for 20 years without a working radio, so that's not a huge item for me. Probably next after the heater might be actually the horn ring. Probably notice here that the horn ring on my car is busted, as it tends to do. You can see right there, it's snapped off, and it goes around on these all the way around the interior of the steering wheel there. I like to have a working horn. Plus, I think that old-timey look of the horn wheel is really cool. I'm trying to think what to do. I've got one half of that, of the broken horn ring. I'm wondering if there's another half maybe in the trunk or something that I can find. And if I do, maybe I could just go to a welder and see if he could weld that back together and reinforce it. And it might not look perfect, but the cost, oh my gosh. The cost of what people want for an aftermarket horn ring for a 1959 is just absolutely insane. I bought one for my Mustang, and granted that was years ago, but I think I paid, oh, I don't even remember, maybe like 40 or 50 bucks for it. I mean, it's just a piece of metal, not even shined up metal. And I, you know, let's just put it this way: the prices I've seen for aftermarket horn ring for a 59 Cadillac, let's just say the price has a comma in it, which, I don't know about you, but you know, I've bought entire cars that did not have a price tag with a comma in it. So I'll pay for a lot of things, but boy, I'm not sure if I can see to paying that much money for a horn ring. So we'll see what I can do. But anyway, take care. Thanks for watching.